Hello everybody, and my name is Conan, and today I'm going to show you through my book called Mindset. So, before beginning this presentation, I have a question for you. Why do people differ from each other? I have thought about this question for a very long time, but when I ask my peers, my teacher, they all respond in the same way. It's just because of maybe the environment, the genes, or maybe their behavior. But today, when I read this book, I got the answer to this specific question. So, before beginning the presentation, I'm going to go to a quick introduction of these two important mindsets. The first one is the fixed mindset, and the second one is the growth mindset. But before we start, we're going to go to a definition of a mindset. Mindsets are a person's way of thinking or their opinions or maybe their behaviors and their acts. So, before we begin, I'm going to go over this part called Why Do People Differ? Since the dawn of time, many people have been different from each other. When we are cavemen, we are different from each other. We right now, we still are different from each other. We have our own personalities, and we have our own hobbies too. So, scientists have had many guesses on why this happens. The first one is it could be the shape of the skull or the gene. The second one is maybe the IQ created by Alfred Binet to expose the French education system, which has been very important for our society in the last couple of years. The second one is Gilbert Gollett's theory about the environment, not the genes. And the second to last one is scientists were guessing and backing each other's guesses up, and there was really no definite answer to this question. However, I'm going to introduce you to why the two mindsets back up for each other and why our behaviors act so different. So, what does this mean for you, and what are these two mindsets? Firstly, I'm going to go over the first mindset called the growth mindset. The growth mindset, people are often really resilient and very hardworking, especially tasks, for example, at school or maybe their basic daily lives. And the second one is that they will try to do best at the things they're good at or maybe not as good at. And the third one is that they will learn and try to gain and correct the old mistakes. And then they will try to gain their experience and to make sure that they don't make the same old mistakes again. And the last one, which is the most important one, they will try to bounce back after their mistakes. Because when we bounce back, we also not only gain experience, but we gain knowledge and we gain also learning speed of that specific topic too. Now, we're going to go on to the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset makes people overestimate or underestimate themselves and makes people choose a easier path than the harder path, which isn't really a challenge and could lead to potential learning problems. And it makes their confidence go up or down depending on the problems or tasks they are required to do. And however, we are going to look at the best aspect of this mindset, which is helpful for everyday tasks. For example, when you want to do your chores, instead of using the creativity, the resilience you have learned through the growth mindset, the most important thing is your quick knowledge and the knowledge you have acquired through doing that basic task. And the aftermath of doing this, that it is helpful for us and helpful for others to do everyday basic tasks, but it is not suitable for developing our own skills and our own hobbies. And now we're going to go over to these two views from both of these mindsets. First of all, we are going to go over the growth mindset. They view problems as a way for them to develop and gain experience over time. And they would try to do much and much more problems so that they become smarter, they can learn faster on that specific topic. And now we're going to go on to the fixed mindset. They view questions as a measurement, hence the ruler that I placed in the slides. And if they fail, they are considered a failure in their own eyes, which isn't necessarily a best way of learning when you're measuring yourself against a problem that you've done. So, what is new for these two mindsets, and what are their aspects? And I'm going to go over some examples when the author taught these two mindsets and see what they have done and what they react to. Firstly, when the author taught people with the growth mindset, they're willing to learn, even accept courses that could overload them or make their free time much lower. But instead, they chose education over play. And it makes students have a straightforward education. Secondly, we're going to go over the fixed mindset. When the author teaches people with a fixed mindset, they did learn efficiently, but not as efficiently as the growth mindset. And at first, that was confusing for the author. She pondered, why did the growth mindset increase so much while the fixed mindset stayed as they were in the first place? However, the most important thing is the perseverance in the growth mindset. When the author taught the growth mindset, the perseverance and resilience was there. That created a big gap between these two mindsets. What the fixed mindset didn't have was the perseverance and the hardworking hobbies as the growth mindset. This led to future problems of getting problems incorrectly and isn't the best way to learn, because when the fixed mindset got problems incorrectly, their confidence dropped or went up. Okay, now let's go on to the self-insights and see who has the best knowledge of themselves, their strengths, and their weaknesses better. I'm going to go on through the growth mindset. With the growth mindset, they were surprisingly very accurate, and they knew their weaknesses too, and also their strengths, and they knew every trait of themselves, down to the hobbies, down to the weaknesses, and down to the strengths. They were able to improve all of this. The fixed mindset, however, were not able to point out most of their weaknesses or strengths. Instead, they lied. They were not even able to point out their strengths, which they should be proud of. However, they have taken a test and received great feedback on this problem as well. So, what's in store for these two mindsets, and what does it mean when you have a mix of them? So, I'm going to introduce you to a thing called creativity. Creativity is seen as an important aspect in everyday life. It helps you with art, as you may know it, and many other tasks in life. A lot of jobs require creativity, like artistic jobs, and much more. The other thing exceptional people, like the growth mindset people, have is the special talent for converting their life setbacks, the disadvantages, into future successes as they grow it over time. Creativity scientists and researchers in a poll of 143 researchers, which is a lot, have a wide agreement. It was a majority that picked the growth mindset that had the perseverance and resilience produced by it. And that created a big gap in the creativity between these two mindsets. While the fixed mindset didn't have the creativity as the growth mindset, they did have a fixed creativity. And however, the growth mindset people were able to point out the aspects that they have seen in life, which is very important for everyday life chores. So, before ending this presentation, I'm going to give you a summary of what we have been talking about between these two mindsets and give you an aspect of what they are. The first one is the growth mindset, which is displayed as a growing sign, as it helps people grow over time. It helps with learning, and it gives us quick learning speed and also a lot of knowledge. It makes people estimate themselves better and more correctly, and also it helps them adapt to overtime changes. While the fixed mindset, displayed as a ruler, makes people measure themselves, and also it limits the vision and ability to develop. It helps with quick decision making. However, it is unsuitable for developing your skills and your strengths or your weaknesses over time, which is a really big problem. So, this is the end of my presentation. I would highly recommend this book to anyone who is looking why do people are different from each other, and why do they behave from each other, and why do people succeed, but some people do not succeed. So, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you Conan, cảm ơn bạn thuyết trình vô cùng tâm huyết.